They tried to chase him away again at 4 p.m. A German Shepherd puppy, 5 months old and soaked through, sat right in front of the glass rehab doors in Portland, Oregon. He didn't pick the dry corner under the awning. He picked the exact line where the doors breathe out warm air and the rain hits the hardest. He sat facing inside, shoulders rounded, ears still a little soft, eyes fixed like the person he belonged to was trapped somewhere behind that lobby. The guard beside me sighed, not angry, more tired than anything. "Same dog," he said. "5th day." Inside, the receptionist glanced over the counter and whispered to the nurse, "We don't treat dogs here." He kept sitting anyway, dripping on the rubber mat, watching every time the doors opened for families, for deliveries, for staff going home. When nobody coming out smelled right, he stayed. "My name is Gabriel. I'm 45. I help with dog rescues around Portland, and that afternoon I was there for another intake, not for him. But I know the difference between a stray looking for food and a dog waiting for one person. He ate the treat I offered, but even chewing, he didn't break eye contact with the lobby. So I asked the admin, quiet, 'How long has he been doing that?' She leaned in, like she didn't want the patients to hear. 'Since the day one woman was admitted,' she said. And right there, I understood. If a puppy shows up at the same door at the same time for 5 days straight, then somebody walked through those doors at that same time, and he's still waiting for her to walk back out. The next morning, the mood at the front desk had changed. The shift supervisor stood there with her clipboard and that rehab tone that means business, not kindness. 'We can't have this every day,' she said to security. 'People in recovery don't need to walk past a begging dog.' To her, he was a problem on the sidewalk, not a promise sitting in the rain. The guard tried to explain he wasn't scavenging, he was waiting, but she was already dialing. I heard her tell Animal Services there was an abandoned puppy parked in front of their door 5 days in a row. She didn't say he came at the same time. She didn't say he watched every patient leave. She didn't say he flinched when the doors opened and relaxed when they closed because the smell he wanted wasn't there. I crouched in front of him and clipped a leash on. He didn't fight it. He followed me to the van like he'd been trained by someone who actually cared. But the second the doors hissed open behind us, he spun his head, whole body angled back to the glass, eyes burning through it. He wasn't afraid of the street. He was afraid of missing the one moment she might come out. I sighed and brought him closer to the entrance again, just to let him see the lobby. The supervisor shook her head at me through the door like I was making it worse. The guard, the older one, pulled me aside. "Look," he said, scrolling on his tablet. "This is the admit log for that day. 4 men, 2 alcohol, 1 post-surgery, and 1 woman checked in around 3:45 p.m. And that was the first day we saw him. So he didn't choose a random clinic. He tracked 1 person into a building he couldn't enter. If he is waiting for her and she is asking for him from inside, then I have to prove it before the system moves him somewhere she will never find him again." I needed to hear it from a nurse, just once. "Yes," she asked about her dog. I went back the next day before the rain even started. I wanted to know if he really came from somewhere else, or if he was just drifting around the block and picking the clinic because it had lights. I parked at 3:50 p.m. No dog. Just wet pavement and the reflection of the automatic doors. At 3:57, he appeared from around the corner of the residential street, not from the clinic side, like he'd checked his watch, like he'd said, "I'll be on time today." He trotted fast, tail low, head up, eyes already on the glass. That's not how a random street dog moves. That's how a loyal puppy reports for duty. I set a stainless bowl with food a little off to the side where the roof actually covered the concrete. He sniffed me, recognized the same man from yesterday, and ate, fast, hungry, no pretending. But he didn't stay at the bowl. He swallowed, licked once, and went right back to the exact wet rectangle in front of the door. He wasn't guarding the food. He was guarding the moment when the door would open and smell like his person again. I went inside. The receptionist already knew what I was going to ask. "Listen," I said quietly, "the woman who came in 5 days ago, did she ask about a dog?" The receptionist pressed her lips together. "Patients can mention things," she said, "but if relatives don't bring animals, we can't make them." Behind her, a nurse passing with charts slowed down, looked at me, then at the window where he was sitting. She asks every day, the nurse whispered. Every day she asks if someone brought him. I stepped back into the rain and watched him watch the doors. If her family didn't bring him, that means they were never planning to. The clinic finally gave me the emergency contact number they had on her file. I sat in my truck outside, watching him sit in the rain again, and I called. A woman picked up, tired, guarded. I said my name, said I was helping the rehab center with a dog that kept showing up for one of their patients. There was a pause on the other end, like she was searching old information. Then she said, "We thought she didn't have a dog anymore." I looked at the glass doors and at the puppy still facing them. "She does," I said. "He's 5 months, he knows her smell, and he's been here every day." The woman exhaled. "She's on a 30-day program," she said. "She can't have triggers. We can't bring animals where we live. It's a rental." The owner said no. "We're doing everything for her right now." In her voice, it wasn't cruelty. It was convenience dressed like responsibility. It was, "Our life can't rearrange for a dog." I told her he was getting wet, that security was worried, that he was going to end up in a city kennel if no one claimed him. She said, "We can't. We really can't. Tell the clinic we said so." And that was it. Family chose what was easier. The dog chose to stay. Inside, the shift supervisor waved me in again. "Sir, we cannot keep an unwanted puppy at our front door," she said, voice lower because patients were walking by. "Our job is human recovery. You have to remove him or we will have animal services pick him up." I looked back at him through the glass. He wasn't bothering anyone. He wasn't barking. He was just waiting for the woman who apparently was the only one still asking about him. If I let the city take him, he'd lose the only landmark he was loyal to. He'd wake up in a metal run on the other side of town and have no way to trace her back. That's how bonds get erased, not by cruelty, by logistics. So I knew what I had to do. I was going to take him with me. And I was still going to bring him back here at 4 p.m. The sky opened the next day like Portland wanted to wash us all off the map. Sheets of rain, sideways wind, water running down the clinic steps. I honestly thought, not today. Even he won't come out in this. At 4 p.m. he was there, soaked to the skin again, blinking through the drops, sitting right in front of the doors like nothing about the storm applied to him. That's what a brave pup looks like. The guard hurried out with an old towel. The nurse followed with a plastic container of food. People held the door so it wouldn't slam on him. He smelled the food, took 2 bites, and still kept his eyes inside. He wasn't there for kindness. He was there for her. I couldn't leave him under that. I loaded him into my truck, cranked the heat, drove him home. He lay down, grateful, finally dry, like he might actually sleep. And then at 3:40, something in him switched on. He got up. He paced to my door. He whined, turned circles, looked at me like, "You're late. We go now." I checked the clock and laughed once, tired. He really thought my house was just the waiting room before the clinic. When we pulled up again, staff watched us through the glass. Some of them already knew his routine. One of them mouthed, "He came again?" I shrugged and pointed at him. He pressed closer to the door, tail low, eyes searching every uniform that passed. He relaxed only because the place was in front of him. That's when I understood you can move a dog's body, but you can't move his time. If I didn't drive him back, he was going to claw at the door and cry himself hoarse. So I put the leash back on, drove him through the rain again, and parked where he could see the glass. He settled the second he saw the entrance. Like, good, you remembered. But the clinic still wasn't ready to bring her out. The next day, I asked to speak to whoever made the rules. Not the guard, not the nurse who snuck him food, the person who could actually say yes. A woman from admin met me in the foyer and kept her voice calm like I was overreacting. "Sir, we are a rehabilitation facility," she said. "We can't just let people have emotional visits whenever they want. We have confidentiality, we have schedules, we have triggers." I pointed through the glass. "He's not a trigger," I said. "He's a devoted puppy who sat in the rain 5 days in a row for one patient. He's the reason she didn't give up before she came in here." She crossed her arms. "If he belongs to her, that's wonderful, but we can't break protocol for an animal." Then she did the line I hate. "You can bring him every day at 4 p.m. If there's a day we can roll her out, we will. I just can't promise when." I called the sister again. Told her the clinic needed her help to confirm ownership. She sighed like I was asking for money. Gabriel, we're working. We have kids. We can't keep driving there, she said. She's safe. That's the important part. It was the same logic as before. Everyone is doing the important part, except the dog who is doing the faithful part. That afternoon, the shelter coordinator texted me. Do you still have the clinic dog? I said yes. She said, if you don't get proof he's tied to that patient, we'll have to make him available. We can't hold spots forever. From their side, it made sense. From his side, it meant waking up one day in a strange run, no glass doors, no smell of her, no 4 p.m. So now I had 3 clocks running. His biological 4 p.m., the clinic's invisible calendar, and the shelter's patience. I needed one small window when she was stable, when he was there, and when nobody canceled it at the last minute. Friday was the first time they actually gave me a real time. 4:10 p.m., outside only, wheelchair, no photos, the admin said. It wasn't perfect, but it was more than we'd had all week. I told them I'd keep him outside on leash just like a rescue puppy drop-off, not a visit. They nodded, like that wording made it safer for them. All day I watched the clock. At 3:30, he already knew where we were going. He paced from the door to the window, little nails ticking on my floor, eyes bright, tail low, but hopeful. By 3:45, we were in the truck. By 4, he was in front of the clinic again, nose to the glass, pulling me toward the doors he was never allowed to cross. The guard held up a hand. Give them a minute, he said. She's getting ready. I could picture it too easily. A nurse helping her into clean clothes, maybe fixing her hair because she was finally going to see the one creature that had waited. The puppy stared at the entrance so hard he was almost trembling. Every time the doors opened and it wasn't her, he made that tiny sound, half breath, half hope. We waited. 4:10, 4:15. Rain started again, softer this time, like Portland didn't want to interrupt but couldn't help it. Finally, the same admin came back to the doors and pushed them open just enough to talk. I'm sorry, she said. She's having a hard day. They needed to keep her inside. We can't bring her out right now. I looked down at him. He was still in position. He didn't know the meeting had just been canceled. He only knew she hadn't come yet, so he would keep waiting. And I knew the clinic would use this as proof. If she can't come out, then maybe the dog isn't a priority. While I was wiping rain off his head with my sleeve, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was the shelter. And this time the message didn't sound patient at all. The text from the shelter was short and cold. Hey Gabriel, you still fostering the dog from the clinic? We need to know his status. I called right back before they could list him. I told the coordinator everything in one breath. The rain, the glass doors, the 4 p.m. routine, the canceled visit. She listened, but she was doing numbers in her head, not feelings. Gabe, she said, I get it. It's a sweet story. But right now you are holding a shelter puppy in a personal home, and we have families waiting. If his owner can't be confirmed, we have to make him available. We can't reserve dogs for people who are in treatment indefinitely. I looked at him lying by my front door like it was the clinic entrance. He heard clinic and his ears perked. He still thought every day ended at those glass doors. I said, he came there 7 days in a row. No food, no roof, just to that one spot. He is not lost. He is staying put for her. There was a pause on the line. Then she softened, just a little. Okay, she said, I can give you 1 more week, but I need something from her. A note, a call through staff, anything that says, that's my dog. Without that, he goes up. Getting a statement from someone inside rehab is like trying to hug through a wall. You have meds, group, individual, lights out. You have confidentiality stacked on top of confidentiality. I couldn't even walk in and show her a photo that had, I needed the clinic to help me prove what everyone already knew from watching him. I was still thinking how to get that note when my phone rang again. This time it was the clinic, and they said they were moving her. The clinic called me first this time. The admin's voice was polite, fast, like she was reading from the day's changes. She's stable, she said, and because she's stable, she's being moved tomorrow to a different unit. After that, she may transition to a day program closer to where her family lives. I looked at the dog lying by my door, waiting for 4 p.m. like always, and I felt something drop. If she left this building, the only address he recognized would stop smelling like her. He'd keep coming here and she'd be gone. Outside, the rain was louder than yesterday. Storm advisory for Portland, gusts, doors opening shorter and less often. That meant fewer chances for him to catch even a piece of her scent. I told the admin, "You can't move her without letting her see him. He's come every single day. He's a German Shepherd puppy. If you break the pattern, he'll keep coming and think she chose not to come out." The admin hesitated. Then she said, 5 minutes. Outside. On leash. If the weather lets us, open the door. I went there early. He knew. He always knew. When we turned onto the Rehab street, he started to whine. Not the soft, hopeful one. The panicked one. The one that says, "Don't let it change." The wind shoved rain across the parking lot. The glass doors kept opening and closing in little nervous breaths. I stood under the overhang, soaked from the walk from the truck, and watched the hallway. No wheelchair, no nurse, just staff rushing because of the weather. I caught the senior nurse's eye and lifted my hand. "Please," I mouthed. "She leaves tomorrow." The nurse looked back over her shoulder, listened to someone inside, then nodded once. They rolled her out with a blanket over her legs, hair tied back, face pale from treatment, but eyes hunting for something beyond the rain. She wasn't even past the threshold when she called out, voice cracking like she'd been saving the word. "Cedar?" He didn't bark. He didn't lunge. He just pulled toward her with that quiet, desperate strength and fixed on her like every wet day finally made sense. And I knew we had maybe 5 minutes under that storm for him to understand she was still alive. The rain was coming down so hard it bounced off the wheelchair tray. He was shaking, but it wasn't fear. It was all that waiting trying to fit into 1 second. The nurse braced the chair with her foot so the wind wouldn't push her back inside. The doors behind them kept trying to close. He pulled me the last 2 steps. I loosened the leash, and he went right to her knees and pressed himself there, chest flattened, head low, nose searching up through the wet blanket until he found skin. That's what a reunited puppy looks like. No hysterics, just relief so deep it makes silence. She bent forward as far as the straps let her. Her hands were thinner than in the admissions photo they'd shown me, but her eyes were alive. "Oh my God," she whispered, breath fogging in the cold air. "Cedar, you came back. I thought you were gone." I shook my head. "He came every day," I said. "Same time. Sat right there in the rain like he was on shift." She looked past me at the sidewalk where his puddle still was from other days. "He always waited at 4, she said, like that was their private language. "I got dropped off at 4. He watched them take me." Cedar, now we knew his name, made that small, satisfied sound dogs make when they finally reached the person they were tracking. He moved even closer, shoulder to wheel, as if to say, "This is mine." The nurse was crying now too, quietly, because you don't often get to witness something that pure outside a hospital. The wind shoved another wave of rain at us, and the admin called from the doorway, "We have to limit this, guys." She looked up at me then, really looked, and said the thing I'd been afraid of. "I can't take him back to where I was," she said. "That place doesn't want a dog. I can't carry him while I finish the program. If he goes to the wrong house, I'll lose him." Cedar heard the strain in her voice and pushed harder into the chair, anchoring her against the weather like he'd been doing all along. If we didn't find somewhere for both of them to land, the system was going to tear them apart again. I started calling people I trust in Portland, not the ones who say, "Aw, cute dog," and disappear, but the ones who have spare towels on their porch and don't blink at rehab schedules. By evening, a friend of mine, Laura, texted back, "If she just needs a place to finish out and the dog is house trainable, I have a downstairs room, fenced yard, dog allowed." It wasn't a fairy tale. It was enough. I told the clinic we had housing. You could hear the relief even in the admin's voice. Now they weren't releasing a patient to nowhere. They arranged her discharge day, not the big final one, but the trial day, and I met them there with Cedar. This time, nobody argued about confidentiality. Everybody in that building wanted to see if the dog would still wait. I walked him into Laura's house first. He sniffed every corner like he was checking for her scent. When they brought her in, slower now, in regular clothes, he froze in the living room. I then padded straight over and curled himself along the side of the couch where they sat her down. That's the moment I explained to Laura, he's an adopted puppy, but not in the way you're thinking. He already picked his person. Now the house is just choosing to keep them together. She nodded. Then we keep them together. At 4 p.m. that day, I watched him. No clinic, no glass doors, no rain. But at 3:58, he lifted his head, listened for automatic doors that weren't there, and then simply laid his paw over her ankle like, "Fine, I'll wait for you here instead." Same ritual, new address. She cried the way adults cry, quiet, with her hand over her mouth. I took a photo of the two of them, her half reclined, him guarding like always, and sent it to the shelter. Owner reunited, do not list. They replied with just a thumbs up. And that's when I knew this whole thing had been balanced on one wet puppy who refused to stop coming back. On paper, he was supposed to be gone. A clinic saw a wet dog at the door. A family said they couldn't take him. A shelter reminded me we were holding space other dogs needed. That's how easily a rescued puppy can be pulled away from the one person he never stopped waiting for. Not because he wasn't loyal, because people were busy, sick, or following rules. What kept him in the right story wasn't luck. It was the fact that somebody noticed he came at 4 p.m. every day in Portland rain, to the same set of glass doors. That was him speaking in the only language he had. She's in there. I'm here. Don't separate us. That's why I need you to hear this part. So many dogs lose their people not because love is gone, but because treatment takes 30 days, or housing doesn't allow pets, or a form never got signed. They get picked up, moved, listed, adopted out, and by the time the human is finally strong enough to ask for them, they're somewhere else under another name. One share at the right time keeps that from happening. One person at the right door keeps the story from being rewritten by convenience. This little guy's journey from abandonment to rehabilitation shows how important nonprofit rescue groups really are. Caring for a rescued puppy is more than love. It's responsibility. It's pet care. Share this video so another dog waiting outside a rehab, a shelter, a motel, doesn't get marked unclaimed just because his human is healing. Join our Brave Paws family. Be their voice. Be their hope.